Hi everyone, thanks for tuning in. Today is going to be a very short video and it's just going to help you decide which size Bahtinov mask to choose, how to measure it, and then later on in the video we'll do a little demonstration of how it's used during the night. So the Bahtinov Focus Mask is a pretty pretty simple device. This is our brand new model that's made out of clear Lexan. And we make dozens of different sizes, and between all the sizes that we make, you're going to find that it covers literally thousands of different models of telescopes. Now there's so many telescopes that we don't try and keep track of which model fits which, but it's really easy for you to figure out for yourself which is going to be the best fit for your telescope. And it really boils down to what's the diameter of the tube that this focus mask is going to sit on. And so all you need to do is to measure that diameter, and when you go to our website you'll see the different models. They show a fit range. It'll actually show that this model fits a outside tube diameter from this many millimeters up to this many millimeters. And the way that we're able to accommodate a range of sizes is that these little rubber bumpers that are on the front here are in this little slot, and the bumpers can be moved in or out, which is how you're able to adjust them to fit your specific model. And once you've picked the right model, it's just a simple matter of adjusting the bumpers so that the mask is centered on the telescope. And it's really that straightforward. And stay tuned and we'll show you how it's used. Hi everyone, thanks for joining in. This is going to be a pretty quick video because I think you're going to find out that the process for getting focus is pretty simple. And as a starting point, there's a couple of things you need to know about before you try and go out there for the first time. One of the things is you're going to have to decide on a star to aim your telescope at. And ideally, you want to avoid stars that are near the horizon. And, when you get closer to zenith, you end up with a better result. And you're looking for a star that is bright enough to be able to create a distinct diffraction spike, because that's what the mask does, is it creates diffraction spikes. And in a minute, you're going to see in the video clip what those look like. Now, every telescope is going to have, an ideal perfect star in terms of brightness. And you're going to make that discovery during your first session. Um, if you have a computerized mount and you normally would connect it to a computer, sometimes planetarium programs, they'll let you see what stars are overhead tonight. And some of the planetarium software apps also tell you when you click on a star what the magnitude is. And I'm suggesting that as a starting point, you choose a star that's somewhere between 2 and 3 magnitude. You're going to have to try and get the star that you're focusing on to be uh, centered in the telescope. If it's centered, you'll get a better result. Um, in my case, I'm using a fairly wide field telescope. It's a TeleVue NP101IS. It's a f5.4, and it has a focal length of 532. The star that I chose tonight is a star called El Heca, and that's a magnitude 2.97. And overly bright stars will also work. The star is going to be a fairly bright blob, but as long as you can see diffraction spikes, you'll still be able to achieve focus. So don't obsess too much about magnitude. You just want something bright enough that's going to show diffraction spikes. A dimmer star might be a better choice, and then you can just adjust the exposure to bring out the diffraction spikes, but you'll find out after your first night out what the perfect mix is for your telescope. The other thing you're going to have to do is you're going to have to be at least roughly focused. And if you look on the screen here, you can tell that it's probably a star. It's a big blob, bright blob. If you're too out of focus, you're not going to see a star at all, even if you're pointed right at it. What I'm using tonight is a software app called Nebulosity. And there are dozens of different software apps that you can use. This is just one that I happen to have. And I like it for focusing simply because it has very simple controls. It has a nice looping function where you just decide what exposure you want. And the frame and focus feature will just keep taking a picture until you tell it to stop. It also has this little bullseye that you see on the screen, and that just makes it easier to center the star. So I'm going to make that bullseye go away. So if you just bear with me for a minute, I'm going to stop this and I'm going to go and turn off that feature just so that it's not a distraction. Okay, so now the bullseye is gone and we're going to get started. So I'm roughly in focus. You can tell there's a star there, but obviously it's not focused yet. And the objective is you're going to move the focuser in and out until you see these diffraction spikes that I'm talking about. And to begin with, you don't know what side of which direction to go. So you just have to pick a direction and go with it. And then you just observe what you see on the monitor, and you'll figure out soon enough whether you're going the right way or not. And by the way, DSLR users might also be able to use the live view function that, for example, on a Canon camera, it has a live view function. And I think Nikon has something similar to that as well. So I'm just going to get going. I'm just going to start by picking a direction and I'm just going to make small movements. And as a starting point, I'm just going to move in the out direction. Now, my exposure here is 2 seconds, so it will take a couple of seconds every time I move the focuser to see the new image. So, okay, it didn't change much, so I'm going to move out a little bit more. All right, I can start seeing these diffraction spikes. And this here is where you see my mouse going back and forth. These are those spikes that are created by the focus mask. So it looks like I'm going in the right direction, and I'm just going to continue to make small movements in the out direction. A little bit more. A little bit more. Okay. I think I'm going in the right direction, so I'm just going to continue to move out. Small movements. Okay. Now the diffraction spikes are getting a little bit more distinct. A little bit more. I'm still going in the out direction. And we're not too far away from focus. So I'll stop here for a second and we'll just concentrate on what we mean by diffraction spikes. So if you follow my mouse pointer here, you're going to see there's one line that goes here. There's one line that kind of goes through the middle, and then there's another line here. Now, one way to tell you're in focus is that if you draw an imaginary line through the brightest part of the star, you can get a feel for, do all of these lines meet in the middle? Sometimes the easiest way to tell when you're in focus is if I look at this diffraction spike here and this one in the middle, and I look at the amount of gap that's between the two spikes, and I compare that to the amount of gap that's on between these two spikes, it's a little bit bigger on here than it is on this side, so I'm not quite focused yet. So I'm going to continue to move out a little bit more. And I think I'm going to try one. Actually, you know what? I think we are in focus. So how I can tell is that all of these spikes kind of meet in the middle. You have to use your imagination a little bit because you got a big bright blob in the middle. But the real telltale sign for me is that if I look at the gap between these two spikes and compare it to these two spikes, they're pretty well dead even. I might go just a touch more in the out direction, and I'm talking a real touch here. And I'm going to call that focused. So I'm going to stop the video for a moment, and then I'm going to remove the mask, and then we're going to take a test exposure and see how well we did. So stand by. Okay, we're back. So the focus mask has been removed, and all I've done is I've just taken a quick 20-second exposure, and I'm pretty happy with the results. You can obviously see the star that we chose to focus on. It's going to be the brightest star that's in the image. But what I like is I see lots of other stars, and they're all tack sharp, and they're nice and round, and that's the result that we want. So I think after you watch this video a couple of times, I think you're going to become a pro at this. And after your first session, you're going to find out what the ideal magnitude star is to achieve a quick focus. And with a little bit of practice, this is something that might take, a minute and a half, 2 minutes to do. And I think you're going to be very happy with your Kendrick Focus Mask. At the end of the video, I'm just going to put up some quick notes that talk about the steps that you go through and how to choose a star. And thanks for watching.